talk about it because right now with the baby boomer generation, it's the great wealth transfer. And I think it's something like $30 trillion is going to be transferring to women because
Wow.
women outlive men.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I've noticed it with, in my mom and, my mother-in-law, their generations. Now, most of the women, they handle the day to day. They pay the gas bill, the electric bill, they handle the checkbook, but the larger financial decisions have usually been made by the husband. And a lot of financial advisors and insurance professionals and everything else are men, and they look at the man. They don't always look at the woman. And then the man passes away and the woman's going, I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
So that's where we're talking to women. We're like, this is an opportunity as women. And not to say that men can't do, everybody does a good job. It's just a different perspective. And other women they're going to be looking for women or they're going to change advisors.
Yeah.
So why not be that female voice that could be there for that woman and that generation to understand and to be able to speak with them and know what they're going through and empathize with them. So it's a great opportunity for women at this point to get into the field, but, really realize that, and for all the men listening, that look at the woman. She's going to be the one controlling that purse string. She's not just the buying power. She's the investment power.
Yeah. And bring them both into the conversation and make sure they both understand what's happening here.
Yeah. I mean, in my family, my husband jokes around. He's like, please don't ever leave me. He goes, I have no idea where anything is.
Hello and welcome to the F.E.E.L Podcast today. I'm your host, Melissa Crook. I've got a new friend here. I met her last spring of 2025. We were both attending and speaking at an event in Southern California, a Refresh and Renew event that my friend Lori Carice put on. And it was a great opportunity to connect with people. We had a table next to each other. And Angela Iacobellis is working in an area that she's got a direct connection to. She had experience with her own parents, and she learned some things the hard way. And she realized this is an area that needs more attention, and I can be that person. I can be that solution. And I told her before we started recording, women do that so much. We see a need, and rather than continuing to look for a solution, we become the solution because it's like, why not me? And that's such a wonderful spirit that I see evident in women across the board. She describes herself as empathetic. She takes things to heart, but she's also very analytical and organized. She's using all those different parts of her makeup and who she is and the nuances of them and bringing them together to create this perfect storm of ability to really help people navigate aging and health and how to help your parents the best way, your grandparents the best way, and not knock yourself out in the process of trying to do it. Because we talk about this all the time. There's a sandwich generation going on right now with our age group where we've still got kids at home or in college, and also we're taking care of aging parents. And we have our own careers and lives that we're navigating. Angela, thank you so much for joining me today on the F.E.E.L Podcast.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And thank you for the great introduction.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah.
I love it. And I just think that what you and Irina, and you're going to hear from Irina later in the season, what you all are doing is so important. And how you got there is gives such important context to the way you're able to deliver what you deliver
thank
today.
You. Thank you.
I think there's so much authenticity there. All right. But we're going to start with prioritizing self-care in your life. What does that look like for you across the board? But also when you entered into this season where a lot was being asked of you with not a great blueprint to work off of.
Right. So I guess you, as most women do, we tend to go until you hit a wall.
Yep.
And then you have to reassess. And, and I think, I do that multiple times. You reassess and then you get back into those bad habits and then you have to reassess again. I mean, just this morning, I've been stressed out. The last week I was joking around saying, I feel like I have all the balls. I'm juggling everything. It's all up in the air and it feels like it's just all crashing down around me. Like everything I'm trying to do, I miss this, I miss that. And then you have to reassess it. So like this morning, even I came home, I prioritize the gym.
Mm.
I joke around that the gym is cheaper than my therapist. So, so I have to keep my gym membership because it's a nice release for me.
Yeah.
And I came back and I was like, I'm stressed and I can feel it in my body. And I just sat there and I put on a meditation for 10 minutes.
Mm.
And, my dog's sitting there trying to lick the sweat off my face. And but, it's one of those things that I think, no matter how many times we do it, we're always, sometimes you just have to stop in where you are. And I had to shower, I had to get ready, I had to do work. I was coming on today to speak with you. And I was like, no, I can take 10 minutes. I can take 10 minutes out of my morning and do this for me because I'll probably wind up working till 7 o'clock tonight.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it, what women especially, and I can speak from that because, that's my experience.
Yeah.
We tend to feel like we have to do it all.
Mm-hmm.
And, so we take that on. And I think we have to remember that we don't have to do it all right this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And we are allowed to give ourselves permission to take 10 minutes.
Yes.
And to just sort of reassess. And that was one thing I really learned when my mom was going through cancer treatment.
Mm.
That you start to do everything as that child and your parent is going through something and you're the caretaker and you have to learn to just stop.
Yeah.
And take 10 minutes. And it's just 10 minutes.
Yes.
The world's not going to fall apart.
Yes, absolutely. So true. And this goes nicely into confidently setting healthy boundaries. You knew 10 minutes for me is going to be more than worth it. I win. The people I interact with win. I'm going to have more energy because I know I'm going to have a longer day today. This is something I can do for me and I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to be, because I know how important you talked about this, you could feel it in your body. And we so many times will ignore, our bodies will be giving us all these hints and all these clues. I need some attention. I need some attention. This isn't registering. I need a more, and we just keep pushing. And then there's this overflow of the wrong kind. And because you listen to the clues, you're like, no, not there yet. Need a little more time. And it makes all the difference in the world when you're willing to do that.
Right. And I think it's going to, and I know it because I'm better prepared to be there for my clients during the day when I'm speaking with them. I don't feel as cloudy in the brain where I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing? What's my priority? How am I supposed to do this? It just really, it allows me to be present and do what I need to do. And like I said, I'm not perfect. Every day is not, rainbows and sunshine and unicorns. It's everybody goes through it. But, I think just taking those few moments when you can and prioritizing it.
Yeah, I think you hit something really important, especially with busy women, those few moments. We're not talking about setting aside an entire day, half a day, 3 or 4 hours. We're talking about grab those minutes where they already exist and hold on to them because those little things add up and they matter. Absolutely.
And I think women, like I said, we just try and do it all and we don't give ourselves that permission and we need, it's not even permission. It's just, that needs to happen. Yeah. You don't need somebody to tell you it's okay. It's just, you need to do this and stop. Don't apologize because you're doing it. Don't, and we all do it. We get in that habit. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing. There's no need to apologize. This is what you need right now and do it. Apologize if you did something wrong or if you need, there's a purpose for an apology, but not because of something that you need to take 5 minutes for yourself.
Absolutely. That doesn't count. That's not something anyone should be expecting you to apologize for. And if they do, that's a boundary you can set. They just don't get much space in your life if that's how they see it. We're going to come back to that apology piece in a minute because I think that's really important. But before we do that, I want to talk about, you talked about listening to your body. When did you realize, when you talk about that connection between our mental, emotional, physical health, we're starting to understand more and more how connected those things are and how they impact each other. When do you think you realized the necessity of paying attention to the messages your body was sending
Um, I would say, I remember glimpses of it when my daughter was little.
you?
She's 18 now.
Yeah.
And so I could remember I became a stay-at-home mom, and that lasted about 3 months before I started finding projects and things to do. And I ended up becoming an instructor for fitness, which is kind of, I think, where my fitness mental health comes into play.
Sure.
But I realized then, going to some of those classes, becoming an instructor, doing prenatal, postnatal care, that that's an important part of postnatal care for mom. That as moms, you need to find those moments. And, I would tell my moms, my clients that, if your child's fussing while they're in the stroller and we're working out, they'll be okay.
Right.
As long as, you don't need to tend to them every single second. Let me do that. I'll go make faces at them. I'll sing them songs. You take the 5 minutes you need to do your workout, to get in another, minute of planking or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I think that's those lessons I learned working with prenatal, postnatal women set me up. And then, like I said, you forget about it, you get into day-to-day life, but it always comes back around and you realize that that's really what you need. And, at that point I was 30. So I'd gone through my 20s and teenage years and never even thought about my taking time for myself or what I might need. And I just, but it wasn't until then, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing like one of those season changes to get your attention. And all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I'm feeling something here I haven't felt before. And
right.
Yeah. And choosing to make that decision to attend to it, so vital, so important, changes the way you show up as a parent, as a partner, as a friend, as a boss, as a coworker. It impacts all of it.
Right. It does. And, really being able to be there, for my family when they needed it. And, and even I was talking recently with some friends and we were talking about setting boundaries. And, part of, what I know for me personally, I say, okay, yes, I'll do that. My husband always jokes around that I raise my hand for everything. And I do raise my hand for a lot of things, and I enjoy it. I enjoy giving back to my community. I enjoy, working with friends and family or whatever they might need, but I've learned to say no. And that goes back, setting those boundaries of knowing when I need help for, mental health for myself, to take 10 minutes for myself, but then also to say, I need to say no. And sometimes that just might be, I don't want to talk to anybody tonight because I've talked all day long.
Yes.
And I don't want to people anymore. I've people.
My husband would resonate so heartily with this. This is something that he experiences a lot too in his work. He does a lot of listening and a lot of talking. But when he gets home, he doesn't want to listen or talk. I mean, other than like he'll ask about my day or if there's something he wants to share with me. But he doesn't want to people anymore. Is a great way to put it. And that's honoring to you because, like you said, you spend you need to be present with your clients. You need to be able to listen and take in information intently. And that requires a refilling and a rest and a care so that that's possible for you.
Yes. And I work a lot of times with, families and like older people going through retirement or younger families trying to figure out how to help. They're expressing to me their experiences with their parents and they don't want to do that to their children. So a lot of it is, not that you're a therapist, but you do have to listen a lot and help guide them and let them know that, okay, this is what we can do. And I understand what you're going through. And, so sometimes there are days where I've peopled and then I go into the den at night and put on a movie, or, it's the holiday season right now when we're recording, but I'm like, all right, holiday movies.
Exactly. Take me away.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for that. And let's get back to that, supporting yourself and other women and people and living unapologetically. You mentioned earlier the importance of not apologizing for giving yourself what you need, for saying no when you know that you don't have the bandwidth for it, not abandoning yourself in this process,
Right.
knowing that you're worthy of it and that you need it. And everybody wins when you do it. When you talked about that time when you were transitioning and you stayed home for 3 months and then you went into the gym and started helping, postpartum women, young moms that are transitioning and learning to take care of themselves. Is that kind of the time that you realize I don't need to apologize for this? Or do you think it took you longer, shorter? When do you realize it was so important to watch your I sorries? Because I had to do a whole practice on this. I said it so much, and I think this is so common with women, I didn't even know I was saying it. Like I didn't until somebody pointed it out to me. Drove my husband crazy until finally, like 6 years ago, my therapist like, I'm going to ask Brady to be an accountability partner with me on this. And I'm like, my therapist wants you to help me stop saying I'm sorry so much. He's like, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And he, with all of his wonderful energy, put himself into it. It took a year and a half of him stopping me in my tracks when I would say I'm sorry and like, nope, rephrase that.
Yeah.
But it took a year and a half of his very, very committed self to it and helping me to make that shift. And that's so not uncommon. So how would you say this unfolded for you?
I think it's been in the last 6 months to a year, really, where I've found myself starting to apologize and saying I'm sorry, or I can't go to this Sunday night. I'm sorry. No, I worked all week long. I've had events 3 nights this week. And the thing is, and it's not just the stopping saying I'm sorry, it's stop explaining why you can't.
Yes. Yes.
So I think I'm trying to work on both at the same time. I don't have to justify my no answer.
Yes.
For every time I need to say no to something. Now, sometimes you do need to, you might need to give context to that person, but we can say no. Period. That's like, period. At the end of the sentence, no.
Yeah.
And walk on. And I think that's the empathetic side of me that wants to feel and I want everybody's approval, and I want to, make sure everybody's happy and do all those things that we don't do that enough. I have a good friend of mine who's told me, she's like, when you hit 50, your mental, the way you look at things change. She goes, and then you hit 60, that really changes.
Yeah, I bet.
And I'm almost to 50 and I'm like, I'm seeing that shift. And I think that's, unfortunately, I didn't see it in my 30s and my 40s, my early 40s.
Yeah.
But I am seeing it now. So I would say almost in the last year where I've really started to focus in on saying, not saying I'm sorry.
Yeah. I was 50 when it started for me. I'm 56 now. I was 50, same thing. I think it's so interesting. And my husband was like, I don't have a problem with this. He's like, but you not only are saying I'm sorry, then you're like over explaining. And I think it's this tendency that we have as women that we think we've got to justify what it is we need to do rather than just trusting ourselves. Yeah, no, this is right for me and I'm going to trust myself in it. And if someone else has a problem with it, then I need to think about the kind of access they have to me. If they're going to be upset about me, now I'm not talking about these last minute things and being flaky. I'm talking about those day-to-day things that we do to ourselves, where we'll continually abandon ourselves for everyone else's good. And the freedom that comes when you stop doing that to yourself. And I have a friend who, she has a 24-hour rule around saying yes to anything. And she did this for herself in her like mid to late
Ah,
30s. And I was like, oh,
good.
so good on you. So good on you.
Yeah.
Because the whole reason I have these conversations is like, you don't have to wait till you're 50. So you can start this sooner.
Right.
We both have, you have a daughter. We have daughters. And so we want that for them. We want them to know that it is good and healthy to prioritize yourself and learn to say no and do it unapologetically.
Absolutely. It warms my heart because sometimes my daughter will look at me and go, Mom, you don't have to do, like, she'll school me on it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, so maybe some of, and I'm hoping some of what I've been saying is resonating with her. But then I also think a lot of what her generation is experiencing on their own.
Yeah.
And how, what they've been exposed to, good and bad, has really helped them. And, we're coming from this generation where our moms were kind of those, broke a lot of barriers and really, went into the workforce. I know my mom did, and, and she was a homemaker, but she wasn't, she still worked and all this stuff. So, it just, with each generation, it gets a little bit better. And hopefully, she won't have to, my daughter won't wait till she's 50 to start saying no.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Agree. 100%. I've seen that with my daughters too, is they're like, no, I've learned this from you, but I also learned that from you, and I'm not going to continue that. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. All right. We're going to shift to your why and your values. You made a shift a few years ago, career-wise. And your why and your values are very, very tied into this. So why don't you give our listeners some background on this shift you made and the why behind it?
Sure. So I've made a couple shifts in my life. I actually have a degree in biology from Indiana University. So I worked in biotech for almost 10 years before I had my daughter. And I loved it. I loved always playing in the lab, and I love working on experiments and seeing how things work and taking it apart and putting it back together. I really enjoyed it. But there were a lot of moments where I was like, I should have been in business. I had worked in college in HR. I had done other things, when I was in college years.
Yeah.
And while I enjoyed the science and I enjoyed that aspect of it, there was a business side of me that was always kind of hanging out. And I actually was in charge of finance when I was in college. And for
foreshadow.
Right. And it was the Analytical Association, which oversees all the sororities.
Yeah.
We had a budget of like $100,000. And this is in the 90s. And I was laughing because I'm like, Indiana University is one of the top 5 business schools in the country.
Yes.
So I'm like, we have business people that could do this, business majors.
Yeah.
And then I was the science girl put in charge of money. I'm like, okay, I'll figure it out.
That is funny.
But I was always good at it. And, I enjoyed it. And then even, years ago when my daughter was little and we were doing our own financial planning and setting up our insurance, our agent, she saw I had a whole spreadsheet. I had everything in there. And, I was very organized. So that was always, money was always, and finance was there. So I worked in fitness for a few years when my daughter was little, like I mentioned. It was just more of something, it allowed me to work and be with her and run a business. And I kind of got my feet wet in how to run a business and be self-employed. And I enjoyed it. And then as she grew, she's in school, I'm pushing an empty stroller. I passed it on down to the next mom who was just coming up. So I was like, it was a good way to still be active. Yeah. And be with your daughter or your children. And then, long story, I got into real estate through a friend of ours. He knew I was good at paperwork because in biotech, you work with the FDA.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to be particular.
So many details.
There's a lot of dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and it's important to get it right the first time. So I stepped into the real estate world and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed, doing the background of it. And then the more I got into it, as my daughter grew, I got into marketing and I got into, doing transactions. I got my license and, I really enjoyed it. And I loved, it was again, working with families and helping them buy homes and everything. And I enjoyed that aspect of it. And yet there was still something bothering me. about
Mhm.
I wasn't fulfilled.
Mm.
And it just felt like, sometimes with real estate, it's a lot of it, not that it's up and down, and it is. I mean,
Sure.
you do have that, and that's fine. But it just I enjoy, like I said, I still enjoy it. It's not something I focus on, but I was missing something.
Yeah.
And it was right around the time my mom got ill.
Mm.
And I stepped back from that, even before that, when my dad passed away.
Mhm.
And that was 12 years ago.
Mhm.
And so he got, long story short, he passed away very suddenly. It was an
Mhm.
aneurysm. And, we flew back to Indiana and, just rallied with my sister who's on the East Coast. And unfortunately, he passed. And my mom had no desire to stay
Mm.
there. And she didn't want, family was not in Indiana. She actually, within a week, she was flying back with me to LA.
Wow.
And, she was trying to figure out what she was going to do. I had a box filled with all of his files
Mm.
and I had to figure it out.
Oof.
And, so it was just, I joke around that I'm empathetic, and that's the Italian side. That's my mom. My dad was German, and that's the spreadsheet side of me. And I was very grateful that he was very organized.
Yeah.
But one of the things we found out through all of this was that he set up term policies for him and my mom, which were great. It was a policy,
Mhm.
but it wasn't enough
Yeah.
because they hadn't planned. Nobody plans to die young.
Exactly.
And he was in his early 60s.
Mm.
They were both still working. He had made a few financial missteps in his 50s, and he thought he had time to make up for it.
Mm.
And unfortunately, he didn't. And so, we had my mom, and, now she's looking at continuing to have to work longer.
Mhm.
And, you're selling a house because she doesn't want anything to do with it. And it's a downtime in the market to sell this house. So that's the real estate brain and me going, well, can we rent it out? Can we do this? Can we
Sure.
do that? Because it's not a good time. It's winter. We were going into
Oh,
winter too,
jeez.
which in the Midwest is not, you don't.
No one's looking at houses in the winter.
No.
No one's going outside if they don't have to.
Right. And it's snowing and it's all this stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, what can we do? And she just wanted it done.
Mm.
We had to move on from it. And so we sold the house, and, there was money there, but not what
Sure.
it could have been had she waited a few years.
Right.
And, so it was kind of like all in there. The real estate side of me helped her
Mhm.
at that time. But then as her, the years went on after my dad passing, we started looking at her financials, and she was looking to
Mm.
retire. And as, we had learned, when your spouse passes, you only get one Social Security.
Oh,
You
that's
don't get both.
right. Yeah. Oof.
And so she was very disappointed in that. And I had
Yeah.
never looked that far into anything with
Sure.
Social Security. And she's like, I worked all those years. And then she's claiming his because his was higher.
Mm.
And, they would have been fine had she stayed in Indiana, had both
Mhm.
Social Securities, everything would have been okay. But that's not what happened.
Yeah.
And, fast forward a few years, she was going through her treatments for cancer.
Mm.
And, now we're looking at it. And this was right around the time when I started looking at what else can I be doing?
Sure.
And I was reviewing some of my policies because as we're seeing her financial situation unfold, it was like, we need to take a look at what's going on for us,
Yeah.
and make sure. We had done it 10 years prior. My daughter was 2 when we did it. And now we're like, okay, we need to start looking at this again.
Yeah.
And, reaching out to our agent, speaking with her, and she had tried to get me to become an agent years ago.
Oh, wow.
She did our policies. And she's like, you'd be really good at this, and you should look into it.
Mhm.
And I didn't. I was like, I don't have time. I have a 2-year-old. It wasn't the right time.
Sure.
But at this point, my daughter was older. I had been in business for myself. So I understood what that took
Yeah.
in order, real estate has its ups and downs. It's sales. It's, there's nobody handing you a paycheck every 2 weeks.
No.
So I understood what that took, what that would look like. And I decided to add the insurance side to my business because I wanted to be able to help people to avoid situations that my mother was now in.
Yeah.
And then people that are, I've been able to help her.
Yeah.
We can't, she had a term policy. I can't do anything about that to renew it.
Yeah.
It's going to expire, and it is what it is at this point, unfortunately. So, it's one of those lessons I try and impart on my clients. God bless, my mom is healthy. She's made it through all of her treatments. She has a very good, cancer-free for several years now, but that's on her medical record.
Sure.
And so, that's part of what became my mission, is to make sure that people don't end up in that situation. And, and then as things went on, and so now when it comes to retirement, because, we can't predict, and sometimes you are in that situation.
Yeah.
Sometimes you did have cancer. There's nothing I can do to help you on a life insurance side, but how can I shift money around?
Sure.
So that's where it's that creative side. It's taking apart a problem, so it all comes back around. All those things that I learned, it does come back around. So it's how do I take apart that problem and find another solution?
Yeah. And your ability to do that with the empathy involved, like I think that is what makes what you do and how you do it so unique, is because of these nuanced part of you that comes together. You see them as people. You've been through this thing, and you've also got the analytical and organizational skills to get the data and make it like, this is why we need to do this. This is why this is important. This is how this is going to work. Because many times you're getting people where they're very stressed. They're very concerned.
Yes.
And the hope is, I think, with having these conversations, is you can get people before they get there. Like, let's make a plan now so that I'm not meeting you for the first time in the most stressed season of your life.
Absolutely. I mean, I just met with a client yesterday. Arena and I did, my partner, and she's 31 years old, getting married next year, very excited, and she's like, I feel like I'm behind. We're like, you're 31. You're good.
Gosh. Absolutely. We wish we could get more of your age group in here.
And that's what we were saying. We're like, it's when you come to me at 61 that I can work magic, but I can't work magic. We can do a lot of creative things, but I can't magically make $50 a month turn into $1 million. In 10 years. I just can't. At that point,
not going to happen.
Lotto might be your only option, but it's one of those things. The younger you start, the better off, and the more options you have, and the less it's going to hit your pocketbook. And so it's just one of those things. But then again, we help clients in their 60s, and it's we had a client that we're looking at that's everything comes back for me. I look at all the things I've been through, and most women, I see, I'm not the first woman to change careers multiple times or have different parts of your life, but all those life experiences lead up to where you are now, and they're going to help you. And we had a client that had real estate. And so we were looking at, first thing I was like, you need an estate, you need a trust, you need all these things. And this might be a way to leverage for your retirement, to do the things. So we get creative when we need to, because it's as much as it's numbers and it's, spreadsheets, you have to be creative too.
Yeah. And it's people's lives and their families' lives too. And I think that's what, again, that gift of you having both of the empathy and the analytical really come together to give all of the recipe of all that you offer so important and so complete. Talk to me about living out of your own expectations versus others. And also the people that you help with that. Expectations, there's a lot of things out there that we are told at a certain, this is the way this is going to be. So you should do this, this, and this. And sometimes we don't stop and ask ourselves, is that really true for me? Do I actually believe that? And does that fit my story and where I want to see myself go? And I think so many times as women, it's like, no, we're going to shift the narrative here and ask myself, what are my expectations? What are my hopes? What do I think is possible? And have I communicated that? I think that's also important when you're helping people with this kind of planning. Or what are your expectations? What are your hopes here? And then the importance of communicating that to your family members as well. So talk to me about that expectations journey.
So, I think from a personal standpoint, some of the expectations that have happened, I go back, you were talking and asking the question, and the thing popped in my head. And when I was getting ready to turn 40, I was like, I want a big Louis Vuitton purse. That's what I want. It's what I wanted for my 40th, and that's it. And, I think around that time, the businesses weren't, as lucrative as they could have been, or, we had expenses coming up, whatever it was. And I was working, and I'm like, this isn't what I want. I would rather we ended up going on a trip to Paso Robles with a bunch of couples. There were like 5 or 6 couples that we all went to Paso and went wine tasting and spent the weekend and did all these things and just had experiences. Yeah. And I think that that I see it more and more from the people we talk to. They're not looking to have the material things so much as they want to be able to retire and travel and do and experience life. Yeah. And I think part of that also came, we had our house, when we were selling it, I had all my jewelry stolen. All my good jewelry. Wow. This was years and years ago. So I had all my good jewelry stolen, and I went, well, that's it. I had a few things that I was wearing, and ever since then, I've kind of lost that material side of wanting the things. I'd rather have the experience. I like the things. I like shoes. I like jewelry. I like purses, but it's not my priority anymore. And that's one of the things that we do in workshops that we talk to clients about. And, we've done meditations at workshops with women. Close your eyes. Like, where do you imagine yourself? How do you see, what does, getting into your 60s and 70s and 80s, what does that look like? You could be in your 30s, but what does your 60s, 70s, and 80s, what do they look like? What do you want them to look like? Yeah. Everybody's different. So it's understanding what that is, and then how do we get you there? Yeah. And for some people it is, I want the cars, and I want the houses, and I want, the boats and the jet skis and all that stuff. And that's great, but that's not everybody's expectation. So I think it's, knowing that what you want can change. Yeah. Is really important. Allowing yourself to change what you want. I remember having to tell my husband about 6 months before I was turning 40, I'm like, I don't want a purse. Change my mind. Go away. Change my mind. Like, before you go do this. I was like, I don't want that. I want us to go away. I want to go wine tasting. I want to be with my friends. And, so give yourself that permission, I think, is really important. Yeah.
You gave yourself permission, but you did something so important that sometimes we forget to do because we think people are mind readers. You communicated it. So when it got, I talked to so many times to women that they're like, they want these things. I'm like, did you ever tell anyone? Or did you just hope that they could imagine? And I think so many times we're like, well, if they read my body language or hear my tone of voice, I'm like, no, that doesn't work. You've got to communicate that. So it sounds simple, because you did change your mind. And so to make the assumption, oh, he knows I won't want to do this. this has changed in our businesses. This has changed in the season. So he'll just know. No, he would not know.
No.
So I don't think we can lose sight of the importance of communicating when those expectations do shift.
Yes. It's like I said, there are moments where I'm like, why didn't he understand what I meant?
Yeah.
And why do I have to stomp around the house to get him to empty the dishwasher?
Right.
Well, I didn't ask him to empty the dishwasher.
Exactly.
So, it goes for the little things and the big things.
Absolutely. 100%.
And,
yeah.
And that's one thing we talk with our clients about too, is that I can be there and I can help you set up a plan. I can work with your financial advisor, your CPA, your this, everybody. We can all put a plan together. And then if a year from now you change your mind and you want to do something different, but you didn't tell any of us.
Yeah. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. I can't, we do reviews. We do annual reviews with our clients. We try and stay on top of things, but life happens. It gets rescheduled. That appointment gets missed, whatever might happen. It's like, but you have to communicate, your finances to people. I mean, even now I look back at my mom's situation and there are things I've learned now that I wish we had talked to somebody at this point, or I wish, I wish somebody had advised us a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And, so that's something I take to my next client.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so communication, I think, whether it's in a marriage, whether it's with your children, whatever it might be, is huge.
Yeah. Clear is kind.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Saves a lot of trouble down the road. All right. In embracing your layers process, the layers journey to me is such an important part of this because we all go through seasons. There's many layers to us. You've done a really great job of recognizing the layers that you're made of and bringing them all together in this season of your life as you serve and show up for people. But also, we also have those parts and pieces of our story that we don't love, that we wish hadn't happened. And I've learned as I'm talking with women, working with women, you've got to get to a point where you can really acknowledge and own all the pieces and parts of your story and not feel like you got to have shame or embarrassment around what you thought you should have known or what you wish you would have done. So talk to me about your layers journey and the ability to embrace from and learn from and have a kind of an empathy for yourself in this process.
I think part of that, I wish I would have, or I wish I could have, comes from us wanting to be everything for everybody.
Yeah.
And, so I, even to the point of yesterday, I had missed a few things. I'm on the board of a foundation. And we both missed it. The president of the foundation and myself, we both missed speaking with somebody. And she probably thought I did it. I thought she did it. And guess what? It didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I spent most of last night being torn apart inside going, why didn't if I just would have spoken up, but we had another event that we were planning and, there's excuses and it's okay to understand why something happened.
Yeah.
But to realize, what can I do so that it doesn't happen again? And, to be able to move forward, is there something I could do to fix it now?
Right.
So I think you have to, you mentioned somebody about a 24-hour rule to say yes. 24-hour rules are really good. If something doesn't go my way or something bad, give myself 24 hours to really absorb it, see what happened. And it's hard because we don't want to admit that maybe I made a mistake.
Yeah.
I'm a perfectionist. I don't want to admit that I made that mistake. So I know I could have handled that differently. That there are relationships with my sister that I know when my dad passed away, it was a very stressful time.
Yeah.
And, there are moments that, as the years went on, I know I could have handled that differently. And, we could have communicated better. It's hard when there's 3,000 miles.
Yeah.
Everybody's living apart from each other. So, there are moments I think you look back and you go, but I think a lot of it too is you have to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Unless you did it purposely.
Right.
Unless you went out in life and purposely did something to cause a bad situation, to do something that was going to affect somebody else and you purposely did it. Other than that, my mom always said it when she was going through losing my dad. She goes, I'm doing the best I can right now.
Mm.
And that's all I can ask for, is just doing the best I can in the situation I'm in at this moment. And sometimes you hit the mark.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't. And staying present like that, I think, is so important too. That presence that you choose within that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, like I said, I've had experiences, when it comes to that's personally, I mean, finances. I mean, we've all, I've bought something that I'm like, oh, I got taken on that one. Shouldn't have bought that. and it's stuff in business, business mistakes that I've made.
Yeah.
Things that I've, oh yeah, I'll sign up for that. Or that sounds like a good deal and things. And I've learned maybe I should give myself 24 hours to say yes to something, to really absorb it and look into it. And sometimes you can correct it. You can, cancel that membership, or, there's sometimes a 3-day cooling off period on different things that you can advocate for. If there isn't, and you're in business or you buy something, argue for it. There's no harm in asking.
Yeah.
Just, maybe even half if you financially made a wrong decision, ask for half back, whatever it might be. But, find those ways to just say, I did the best I can, and forgive yourself and move forward.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you so much. And learn from it. Yeah, absolutely. And it goes really into this last piece here of, I call this F.E.E.L, finding empowerment, embracing layers. You have really lived your life in a way that is allowing you to do that in the process. You see life as a journey. You're going to continue to learn and evolve and grow. And how that impacts not only the decisions you make for yourself and how you feel about yourself, but it also impacts your relationships and how you interact with others. So talk to me about your experience with that as you continue to grow and learn about yourself.
So on the business side of things, when I work with clients or vendors that I work with or anything else, I will have patience. I've learned you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, or bees with honey than you do, whatever the saying is.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So when I'm talking with people and talking with, carriers or things, I'm trying to get something processed. Try and be very nice. Keep your calm. Don't don't lose my head, because again, the Italian side, we can lose our head on things. But then when it's time to put your foot down and be strong, then you have to do it. Yeah. And don't be a pushover. Yeah. So there's a fine line between being, giving people grace, and then also not being a pushover. And don't be afraid to ask for their supervisor, because sometimes you do need to ask for the supervisor, and you do need to take it to that next level. And do it with grace. Say, you know what? I know it's not your fault. You're doing your job, but I need to get better answers from my client. I'm advocating for my client, not for your company. So, there are things like that I've learned, I think, as we grow and experience life. Again, my daughter will hear me sometimes on the phone, and I'll hang up and she'll look at me like, ooh, you put your foot down on that one. She's like, I'm glad I wasn't on the other end of that phone call. But, and then personally, same thing. It's like, you can understand that maybe somebody is, going through a bad time, having a bad day, or just what they did or how they acted wasn't necessarily meant to make you angry or hurt your feelings. Yeah. You have to put yourself in other people's shoes sometimes, but at the same time, don't be a doormat.
Right.
If something is not right, then speak up for yourself.
Yeah.
And do it. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to be angry. You can be firm. And I think that's, a lesson. It goes back to with age. I think we learn those things and the experiences that we have. And, part of that layering that you talked about of being in different industries, being in, a lot of male dominated industries.
Yes.
So that's a whole nother, realm of how to manage being in, a working environment where it's corporate America versus self-employed versus, whatever. I'm in an insurance industry that is very male dominated.
Yes, it
and
is.
hasn't changed very much.
No.
We're working on it. We're trying to get more women into the field.
Sure.
But, into financial, anything in finance, we're trying to get more women. But I think all those things, all those experiences help me to recognize things, to see, okay, be nice and push back when it's necessary. And then hopefully my daughter will hear that and listen at some point and learn from it.
Yeah, you said something so important. I think it is. It's like you give people opportunities, they have bad days. And also there's a line in the sand. Like, all right, this is the third time this has happened. It is time to have a conversation. It is time to clearly communicate what is a non-negotiable for me in this situation anymore. Yeah. And knowing that line, and I think too, you talk going back to being in a male-dominated field, well, you're going back to that unapologetic piece. You're not apologizing for showing up in the room. You're not apologizing for taking up space, requiring, requesting, demanding certain things. And also too, I think when you work with women, and this is such a financial thing, I think we're starting to see a shift in this where with our parents and our grandparents' generations, the men did the finances and the women really didn't know. And then when they were gone, and I think you ran into this probably some with your mom, they had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
what to do. And so also your ability as a woman to convey to another woman what's possible, that you can learn this, you can understand this, is really empowering as well.
Well, we talk about it because right now with the baby boomer generation, it's the great wealth transfer. And I think it's something like $30 trillion is going to be transferring to women because women outlive men.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I've noticed it with, in my mom and, my mother-in-law, their generations. Now, most of the women, they handle the day to day. They pay the gas bill, the electric bill, they handle the checkbook, but the larger financial decisions have usually been made by the husband. And a lot of financial advisors and insurance professionals and everything else are men, and they look at the man. They don't always look at the woman. And then the man passes away and the woman's going, I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
So that's where we're talking to women. We're like, this is an opportunity. As women, and not to say that men can't do, everybody does a good job. It's just a different perspective. And other women they're going to be looking for women or they're going to change advisors. Yeah. So why not be that female voice that could be there for that woman and that generation to understand and to be able to speak with them and know what they're going through and empathize with them. So it's a great opportunity for women at this point to get into the field, but, really realize that, and for all the men listening, that look at the woman. She's going to be the one controlling that purse string. She's not just the buying power. She's the investment power.
Yeah. And bring them both into the conversation and make sure they both understand what's happening here.
Yeah. I mean, in my family, my husband jokes around. He's like, please don't ever leave me. He goes, I have no idea where anything is. and I'm like, let's sit down. Let's talk about it. Let me tell you what's going on. And he's like, okay. I go, I have it's organized. There's a method to the madness. I go, my password to get into my phone and my computer. As long as you know those things, you can
find everything.
Yeah.
I love that. He's like, wait, please. Leave clear notes. Oh my gosh.
So
But you mentioned
it's fun.
something. Yeah, it is fun. And it's a great opportunity, I think, at this time. And also, and you've seen it that way, but also you mentioned something earlier too about the trustworthiness is so important in what you do and what you're
Yes.
talking to people. And we're in that season where women are going to trust other women because that's who they connect with. That's who they believe will understand their experience. And I think that's a key component too. And so if you're
Absolutely.
a man in the industry, make a point to understand all the experiences that are involved here. And don't make assumptions. It goes back to that expectations thing. Don't assume anything. And even if it has been that way, invite a different way of looking at it so everyone feels empowered and not fearful about what could happen.
Right. That's the thing we see a lot is whether it's retirement planning, college planning, whatever it might be, when it comes to finances, everybody does this.
Yeah.
Well, if I don't look at it, then it's all okay.
Yeah.
And it's funny. We do a lot of retirement workshops, and we talk about fitness world and health world. It's the standard American diet, which they call it the SAD diet. It's sad. It hasn't done a lot for us as a country when it comes to our health.
Yeah.
Because it's processed food and on and on. I can go on for that. But the standard American retirement has been the 401k.
Yeah.
And it was offered to give people a chance, an opportunity to control some of their funding and their retirement funds. But what happened at the same time is that the pensions all went away.
Yeah.
So everybody's going, well, I contributed to my 401k and it just does its thing. And nobody looks at it. They're all doing this. If I don't see it, it'll all be okay. And it's not. It's not always okay. And sometimes you have to take off the blindfolds. You have to look at a budget. You have to see what's going on and just deal with reality on reality's terms. Yeah. And that's okay. Like there's no right. Again, it goes back to there's no right or wrong. It's just knowledge is going to help you.
Knowledge is power. It is. It informs and helps you to make the decisions. And because I think you said something so important about the 401k, I think so many people thought about the 401k as equivalent to a pension. It's not, they're not the same thing.
No.
The 401k is in the market. I mean, there's a whole other different predictability or lack thereof that goes with that.
Right. I mean, there's a pension is guaranteed income.
Yeah.
You know exactly how much money you're going to get for the rest of your life. Social Security is a pension. Yeah. It's guaranteed income we hope.
Right.
It's guaranteed income for the rest of your life. 401k, it's there, but ask people that were retiring in 2007 when the market crashed.
Oh, yeah.
They lost half of their retirement.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's one of those things that, I could speak for hours on it, but that's where talking to your advisors, getting a well-rounded approach and really taking those blinders off and saying, okay, what does this look like? What do I want my life to look like? How do I approach this? It all goes together, and it's not something, it's, you talk about layering again, and it's all layering. It's layering your financial decisions. It's layering your life decisions and all it's different stages of your life. So it all comes in full circle.
Yeah, it really does. Thank you so much for all that. That was so good. That was so helpful for people. I think it's one of those things we need to talk about more. We need to, anytime fear is getting in the way of you doing something, that's an indicator you need to be doing something.
Yes.
Because these things are going to happen, and no amount of us putting blinders on or having fear around them is going to change. That life is going to continue to happen, and certain circumstances are going to come up. And why not face it head on and be prepared and have a plan, know what's happening, not try to minimize the surprises, because there's going to be surprises, but try to minimize the surprises so that they're manageable because you have been forward thinking in this process.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I was working out yesterday going back to my fitness that I used to wear, um, push-ups. I can't stand push-ups. I'm not a fan of push-ups. I've never been a fan of push-ups. Most women I know are not fans of push-ups. And I'm sitting there working out next to this woman, and she's like, I hate push-ups. And I go, I know. It's why we need to do them.
Exactly.
It's why you just gotta keep doing it. So it's why you gotta, take those things head on, the things that are uncomfortable, the things that, those are the hard things to do, but those are the things you need to be doing. The easy things are easy. They're easy.
Exactly.
They're fun.
Right. But yeah, don't assume that just because that's hard or fearful, that's not a clue to step away. That's a clue to step into.
That's a great way of putting it. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
All right, Angela, we're winding down here. Share with me 5 activities that nourish you.
Okay, 5 activities. So I would say the first, I'll go throughout my day kind of. Walking my dog in the morning and doing my gratitudes. So it's usually at sunrise and just being able to be out there. It's a grounding moment.
Yeah.
Seeing the nature and walking around and being outdoors. Another thing is working out. That's, would be second thing I would say. Third is cooking. I love to cook. I love it's my love language to my family. I love finding recipes. I love being able to provide a healthy meal for my family and something that they enjoy. Another thing is when, so that's 3. So 4, I would say, is when I can hand a client the approvals. So, that I'm able to take them from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Of looking at what they're doing, putting together a plan, implementing that plan, and being able to say, you did it, it's done, see you in a year. Because then I know that they're in a good position, and that helps me to know that if God forbid something does happen, they're prepared.
Yeah.
That they have what they need in place. And just on a fun note, another thing is a really good martini and a steak on a Friday night.
Oh, just a wrap up the week.
Just to sit back, have a nice gin martini and a steak, and I'm a very happy person.
I love that. See, you've covered the full gamut of things. And I think you give such great nuance to those things that fill your soul. They can be moving your body. They can be those things you get to do in your work. They can be those simple joys, and they're all part of it. And they all fill your soul in different ways. I love that so much. All right. 5 words on how you want to feel the next 6 months.
Accomplished. Stress-free. Content. Excited. And let's see, a 5th one. I would say adventurous.
Ooh. Yeah, I like that one. Adventurous and curiosity. That's one that I'm really leaning into in this season of my life.
Yeah.
I love this. Keeps things alive.
To not hold back, to do the things I want to do.
Yeah.
And just nobody's guaranteed tomorrow. I'm going to go do it now.
Exactly. Yeah. So good. All right. Tell people where they can find you and follow you.
All right. So I'm on Instagram at Angela_Iacobellis_LA. I know it's a lot to spell. I apologize.
It'll be on our website. You can just copy and paste it.
Facebook is the same thing. LinkedIn is the same thing. My website is AngelaIacobellis.com.
Okay.
I love interacting with people. I love helping people. If you have any questions, I don't charge for advice. I don't charge for a phone call. You're more than welcome to reach out to me, and I'm happy to help you however I can.
Great. Thank you so much for that. A last thought you'd like to leave with our listeners today.
The last thought I would say is enjoy life.
Mm.
There's nothing that's guaranteed,
Yeah.
but take the moments to enjoy your friends, enjoy your family,
Mm.
um, call somebody back
Mm.
when you need to. Just call somebody because you're thinking of them.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, it's all about enjoying life. We get one,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that would be it. And prepare for it too. That's the
Yes.
finance side of me.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
that's the business side. That's the finance side. Is that you
Yeah.
got to prepare for it in order to be able to enjoy it.
True.
So,
That gives you that contentment you're looking for.
absolutely.
There
Two
you go.
sides of my brain.
There we go. We brought it all together. Great way to wrap it up. Angela, thanks again for your time. Thanks for the way
You're
you
welcome.
show up in
Thank
the
you so
world.
much for having me. Thank you so much. This has been great. I'm so glad to see you. I haven't seen you in a few months, so
I know.
this is
I know.
great.
Good to connect with you too. Listeners
Thanks.
out there, don't let fear get in the way of doing that thing that's going to give you the contentment and the peace of knowing that you've taken care of it. So that would be, and there are people like Angela out there waiting to help you. So look at those resources, make that appointment. Now's a great time to think about it. We're going into the holidays and then the new year. It's a great time to make a plan and get that in order. But we hope you found this helpful. We hope you found this supportive. Take good care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time here on the F.E.E.L Podcast. Hello, and thank you so much for being with us today on this episode of the F.E.E.L Podcast. If you would like more information on how you can apply these talking points that I share with our guests in each episode to your own life, really utilize this F.E.E.L framework, go to embracinglayers.com, fill out our contact form, and let's set up a free 30-minute consultation to talk about how you can start living your most authentic, organic, healthy, feel-fueled life. Thanks again for being with us today. We'll be back to you soon with another episode here on the F.E.E.L Podcast.